So I did 2 trips, northern Quebec, in the same way. First, I did it for personal challenge. And as I said, you will play the game, Where is Waldo? You know the cartoon? Will be Where is Fly, okay? So I did my trip with minimum of gear and food. Usually, I think when I'm doing canoeing, I have too much stuff, too much gear, too much food. I'm able to shoot a goose or take a fish and it makes my day, and after I throw some stuff in the river. So this time I take minimum, and I kept in mind the English expression is keep it simple. Doesn't really exist in French, but so the good point to travel light, it's travel fast. And these 2 trips for me were very cheap, almost free, and logistically easy. For the good reason, I started from a hunting fishing lodge where I was working as a guide. And the bonus of that, it's the outfitter don't have to pay to bring me back home by plane. And of course, not using a plane, it's a carbon credit for my next trip using a plane. And doing this trip in the fall, I'm expecting to not have any bugs. That's a very important northern Quebec. So one trip, I used a tarp. It was new. Usually I'm using a tent. Now it's a tarp. And for the other trip on the Leaf River, it will be a new boat, brand new boat. They call it a pack raft, and very useful to travel light. So I started the first trip from Mabille Lake Lodge, and this part is the Mistanipi-Sipu River, and then Natashquan River, who is more well known. And the second trip is from Leaf River Lodge, and then east to Tassouillac. That's just little stretch of big Quebec. So Mabille Lake is good for lake trout fishing, pike fishing, but very famous for big brookies. And Leaf River is an excellent river for fishing and very good hunting too. So I know some tricks about hunting fishing, so usually it's not a problem, but it won't feed me this time. So that's my first trip on the Mistanipi-Sipu River. It's an unmapped river. Nobody did it, and I didn't see any human track. And nobody was supporting me, so that's the outfitter, and he's making a victory sign, but the day before he was not agree with the expedition, and he didn't really help me until the last day, and I think maybe he was a little jealous because himself he tried it 3 times to do this trip, 1 time by boat, 2 times with a snowmobile, and he didn't success. The reason is simple. He probably did it with this kind of boat, and not the best for portage. So that's the Mistanipi-Sipu River. You have the Quebec-Labrador border right there. The lodge is there. And yeah, he asked me the last day if he could help me. I said, yeah, bring me down the river. I know very well this part, and there is a portage there, and me, I don't like so much portage too. So I started from there. And as you can see, there are many, we don't see so well, but there are many stretches of rapid all along the way. This part is like a C sign. I don't really know what it means, but it's not a good sign. And then rapids, rapids, rapids. And the worst part, I call it Hell's Canyon. It's 10 kilometers rapids. I was expecting maybe 10 kilometer portage. And after 80 kilometers, it was no time to turn back. And after that's West Natashquan River, East Natashquan River, and then we are in the main Natashquan River. It's a very wide river, beautiful, and a paradise. I hope to reach this. So I'm starting with a kayak. The first time I'm using a kayak. It's not an expedition kayak. The outfitter bought it for his grandchildren. But it's floating quite well. But I needed a spray skirt, and one guide who had the day off, he made me one with a blue tarp. It was not fitting very well, but it was helping, I guess. So the river looks like this. The first part is burnt forest. And that's my first night. I was burnt myself, I think. Tired of the day before. Some pressure, some stress, and not very flat campground. And I got wet, and I lost some of my food, was not well wrapped. And I didn't have so much food, so it was not good news. So, and that's the landscape most of the way of the Mistani-Pisipu River. Falls, falls. Sometimes many falls at the same place. And falls. That's the sea sign. As a matter of fact, there are 3 branches there, and I passed on the right because there was a drive branch, so I was able to carry the kayak through this. And this point was a kind of non-return for me, because it was already far, and it was tougher than expected. You know, it was a 3-kilometer portage around there, and it was not the worst yet. So the first 3 days were not so good, but after starting this day, I had the blue sky, already a good sign, and I was not going fast, but I was going forward. So, blue sky and the opportunity to dry, that's a good midday. And to it, the few things I have, you see how technical is my stuff. 2 pairs of socks, we never know. And the good thing is I was expecting a lot of portaging, and as very often I did some lining, and it helps a lot to keep some energy. We are already in the Hells Canyon, and that's a strange thing. Have you already seen that on Google Earth? So I was thinking it should be something important, maybe army or UFO base, or I don't know. So I planned to sleep there. I came there, and in the morning when I woke up, I took the picture. And that's a waterfall, maybe 10 meters high, starting there. And on the other side, not so impressive maybe, but I'm the only one to have these pictures for now. That's my last day, so I stopped around 2 p.m. and in a nice campsite and try to fish. And I caught some salmon, big like this. So I finally released them. But I wash my clothes, I wash myself. And do you see where is Sly? This one is not easy, but so starting on Natashquan River, it's a very nice river. It's steep valley, slow water most of the time, big sandy beaches. So all this part was very easy. I was doing something like 50 kilometers a day, and I had a big chance. The first night, I had a camp, an Innu community camp, and I found a treasure, some food. And I found there was dry and fresh food. Fresh food was not fresh anymore, but I threw it in the bush, and I was able to eat this day and make a good bannock with dry apple for the day after. And that's a portage on Natashquan River, so look at the paradise, a beautiful trail and very short portage, like a couple 100 meters only. And my last night, so at least there is one sunset picture. And my goodbye with my dog or my helper, I don't know. Quite typical waterfall of Natashquan. And still surprised to know thousands of salmon are going up this, like it's nothing for them. But for me, another portage. So I finished Natashquan trip around mid-September, and now the year after, we are on Leaf River at mid-September. and we had 40 centimeters of snow, staying on the ground during 5 days. Big wind, very chilly. And I wanted to put the challenge a little more, and I decided to go without a tent first, but because some pressure, I changed my mind. So I called home and asked for a tent who would fit well for this expedition. But as always, there was some plane trouble the last day. So the outfitter gave me the choice. I could wait for the day after to get my tent, or leave right now in 1 hour, and they will leave me down the river with a boat. It's a part, it's the dangerous part, big rapids, and it's a part I already know well, so it was not a challenge. It was a challenge, the rapid itself, but it was not discovery for me. Do you see where it's like? Camp 2? So I decided to go the same day to save 1 or 2 days, because at this time, it's kind of challenge. I don't want the river is freezing. So some guys let me down, and this time, I have many equipment, brand new bag, the tent they gave me. It's a beautiful vintage 30 years old tent, but very bulky, very heavy, and too big to take everything. So I took only the under part with the 10 poles, and I did not have the dry part. Sad. But maybe it's better than nothing. We'll see. So this time I'm feeling supported. Most of the people in the camp are excited about this expedition. The other guys are making a lot of jokes, like they are betting on which rapid I will die, and maybe we should put a net and Tasuyak to recover the body, and many things like this. But my first campsite. It's not exactly what I expected. It's not perfect flat campground, but it's not the worst. And the 10 poles are not the same size. And my tarp is not big enough too. And I'm wearing a balaclava, not because it's cold, because it's buggy. So I miss this too. So campsite 2, it's not dry yet, but it's beautiful. Getting better. And I thought maybe I have 2 tarps, and maybe the other one is quite the same size, but the shape is different. So maybe I can make better. I tried the blue tarp. Not dry yet. I tried something else. And it's not the best campsite again. Huh? But this time it was around 1 p.m. and I was down a big rapid, and I was in a flat part and it was very windy, so I did a couple 100 meters, and then no, it doesn't make sense. I need to stop. So I stopped there and tried to find a place to camp. And the only place I found, it's a place where probably in the spring an ice jam crushed the soil. So it was steep with big boulders, but I was sleeping on my boat as mattress. So it was not so important. And the weather was, that's the second day, so the weather was not better a second day, so I slept there. And second night, just an illustration of, when we're making canoe camping, most of the time we enjoy to make fire because it's a gathering, it's warm, we can cook on it. But for me, solo, it's just a job. So if I can, I don't make any fire, except if I need to burn garbage. So my last setup. You see me, I'm boiling some water, and I'm making my breakfast. My breakfast is hot water with powder coffee and with sugar. And I put that in my sleeping bag during the night, so it keeps my feet warm. And I have something not to eat, but at least to drink for the morning. And the tent itself, this night was not too bad, because when it snows, you don't need it dry. That's a good point. And but I decided maybe it was not so good idea to take the tent. I should be better, because the size of the boat, and I was putting the tent inside the floor, so I have no room for my legs. I had to put my legs out. I think it would be better to carry a quarter of caribou. At least I would have some food on the way. So I decided, first Inuit camp I met, I decided to burn the tent. And now I'm feeling free, So I can enjoy some holidays. I took a day off. I stayed 2 nights in the camp and tried to get some food by hunting, fishing. But did you see much wildlife till now? No. There was some flocks of ptarmigan, a lot of ptarmigan. But I had just a little 22 gauge. And I didn't have any shooting opportunity. And even there, I didn't get any, but I need at least 5 or 6 by day to feed on. So it was not a success. Same thing for fishing. So I thought maybe I have just to relax, keep energy, and go forward the day after. So that's the end of my holidays in the Inuit camp. Big luxury, but no food, but at least it was almost warm and dry, and I didn't have to take half an hour or maybe 1 hour to make my tent, because my tent, I had to make the tent, 1 tarp, 2nd tarp. It takes a lot of time. And the morning when I left, I had to close the door, and it was closed with 3 different sheets of plywood, to not have any problem with bears. So I took the time to close every sheet with the right nail in the right hole, because I didn't want to break the whole wood, and it took maybe 15, 20 minutes to close the door. So I turned to my stuff to go, and oh, where is my boat? Of course, it was inside the camp on top of the bed. And the day after, I slept in another Inuit camp. And from there, I was expecting to walk until Tasuyak, because the Leaf River estuary is quite wide and a very, very big tide. So I was thinking, okay, it could be dangerous. The best is to walk it, and it would be 30 kilometers walk with a big, heavy backpack. But I was very lucky. A day before, I passed class 2 to class 4 rapid just because the tide was high. So I passed easily. I had no wind during 2-3 days. And when I slept in the camp in the morning, getting up at 6:30, the tide was very, very low, but still going down. So I thought maybe I could make it, I could at least go on the other side, take 2-3 hours, and I could be in Tasuyak in 4 hours, and then I would be able to take the plane the day after. And this way it was Tuesday, and the Wednesday, if I took the plane, I would be able to go home in the same day. If I don't, I will lose 3 days between Tasuyak and Kuujjuaq. And so I knew it was not the best to do, but the problem was what they call the reversible falls. And I asked to the outfitters, and they say, oh, no, it's not a problem. The problem is up, and the problem, I didn't have any problem there. But finally, at very low water, it was quite dangerous, and I slowly got into, and I had never clearly seen it. It was in the middle of big, big rocks, so I had to jump out of the boat 2 times. I got wet, I lost my GPS. Quite stressful time, but I made it, and after I had just 3-4 kilometers hike to reach a road going to Tasuyak. So I finished it wet, slim, because I lost, for the 2 expeditions, an average of 1 pound a day. But my doctor say me, oh, don't worry for that, it's just good for health. Okay. But I'm quite proud I did it. But so to resume, going in fall, it's beautiful to take pictures. You have a good light, but it's very short days. On Leaf River, I had only 8 hours of light a day. So you need to manage to be efficient during your day. And it's not the best way to enjoy a canoe trip, or a paddling trip, I mean. It's a race, and usually I like to take time for hunting, fishing, hiking, taking pictures. I didn't do as much as I would like to do. And yeah, to get hungry, so it reminds me another English expression. It's something like 1 pound a day, keep the doctor away, I think. And related to that, but fishing, hunting, and I was expecting to see the caribous during the mating season. You know, it's nobody is around there in October, and that's a perfect place for observation of caribou. But I didn't see any. And I missed friends, of course, and models for the pictures, because I think you saw a lot of pictures of me today. Shotgun for ptarmigan, and binos. I think you want to see wildlife. You need to be on top of the mountain and to check for that. And it could be dangerous, because average temperature in October on Leaf River, it's 0 degrees. So that's why the race. So maybe I'm not the best to talk to 500 people, but I would like to, if I have time, to speak to every one of you. And that's the end of my last night in the last camp. Thank you.